Welcome to Stop 4 of the 2007 AVP Crocs Tour. We are in the desert. We are in Glendale, Arizona. When you come to Phoenix, you know one thing. You must travel outside of town to get to the beautiful sports complex known as Westgate. It is known for the home of the Arizona Cardinals and the Phoenix Coyotes, as well as the National Lacrosse League's Arizona Sting. And this weekend, this beautiful sports and entertainment mecca is home to the world's greatest beach volleyball players. We've got the sun. We'll bring in a little sand. Get your water. Stay hydrated. We're not on the beach, but it doesn't matter. We are playing beach volleyball. There you see Championship Court as we get set for the Sanderson Ford Glendale Open Men's Final, presented by Bud Light. Jake Gibb, Sean Rosenthal against Bill Dalhausser and Todd Rogers. Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome once again to the AVP Crocs Tour. Mike Goldberg, the legendary Karch Karai. Karchi, we would be remiss not to revisit the meltdown in Tempe one season ago.
I think everybody's melting down this weekend. It's been so hot. But yes, Sean Rosenthal and Jake Gibbs, 17-10 lead in Game 1 a year ago here in Arizona. Completely melt down and then lose the second game 21-9 to this same team and have not won since. Still hungry for that next AVP victory.
They have lost 8 straight AVP finals since that point, but the good news is just last week, Gibb and Rosenthal defeated Dalhausser and Rogers in the semifinals in Huntington Beach.
Which was a big hump to get over for them, so big that they had a letdown in the final. So I think both teams here, Rogers and Dalhausser, felt like they pressed too much in that semifinal and really got nervous and didn't play very well. And then, of course, Gibb and Rosenthal want to make up for a poor final last weekend. So both teams feel like they have a lot to make up for and looking forward to their opportunity this weekend.
Well, lots of great volleyball ahead, and the way we always start things is to officially meet the participants in today's men's final. And no one does it better than Chris McGee. Peter.
Ladies and gentlemen of Glendale, Arizona, it's the AVP Crocs Tour, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, time to meet the players. He calls 8th Street, Hermosa Beach, his home. He is one of the sickest athletes on the entire planet. Ladies and gentlemen, he has 4 open wins. Give it up for the son of Jarrell Superman, Sean Rosenthal, the leader of the free world known as the Raiders. And his partner, ladies and gentlemen, he grew up in Bountiful, Utah. He learned how to play volleyball in his backyard. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the 2005 MVP of the AVP. 7 times the winner. He is big, smooth, and he is nasty. Jake Spiker Gibb. And here they come, the #1 team on the AVP Crocs Tour out of the University of Central Florida, one of the most intimidating forces in the entire world. Last year voted the best blocker in all the land. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 open wins. Say hello to the Thin Feast, the Beast, Philip Dalhausser. And his partner, ladies and gentlemen, and his partner, check 1, 2. And his partner, ladies and gentlemen, out of Santa Barbara, California, the god of the beach, 24 open wins. Give it up for the Professor Todd Rogers, T-Rog.
So there you have it. Officially, you have met the men who will participate in today's final. As always, we navigate the match, courtesy of Nautica, and for that, here's Cart.
Well, for Gibb and Rosenthal, of course, they've got to do a little rockabye. Phil, they've got to put him to sleep like they did last week, neutralize him by keeping their shots high and away from his block. And, of course, that forces Todd Rogers to beat that team instead, and they were successful in that semifinal match a week ago in Huntington Beach. On the other side of the court, of course, Dalhausser and Rogers, they want to forget with a PH there, Huntington. Phil Dalhausser missed his last 3 serves into the net or out to end that match. So they were really pressing with that $100,000 bonus on the line. I want to forget that. And, of course, don't let Rosie up for air. Try to put the pressure on him and keep his errors high.
Phil Dalhausser has had a good tournament serving this weekend in Glendale, leading the way in the tournament thus far with 9 aces. So it's the top-seeded team of Phil Dalhausser and Todd Rogers against Rosenthal and Gibb. Our rules of the game, as always here on the AVP Crocs Tour, best 2 of 3 games. The first 2 games played to 21. A third, if needed, is played to 15. Rally scoring in effect, so a point is earned on every play, and you must win each game by 2 points. Happy Mother's Day to one and all watching us today across the way on the AVP Crocs Tour. Hope you are enjoying your Mother's Day celebration. And here's Todd Rogers to get us started. Dalhausser with the left, and he scores the point.
The Beast puts it away.
And that's exactly what I was talking about, is that Rosenthal is going to try to go more soft shots and try to keep Dalhausser, keep his stuff blocks down to a minimum.
Rogers with the jump serve. And a big finish by Sean Rosenthal. Wind not a huge factor this weekend. In fact, you wish it was a little bit more. Sean Rosenthal, third on the tour right now in kills, 6-4, 4 career AVP wins, including Lauderdale last year with none other than Jake Gibb. Total aces, he is well ahead so far this season with 59 total aces.
Here we go.
And he could not get to that one.
Well, that's the other big key for Gibb and Rosenthal, is Gibb has been a major force at the net this weekend, turning his blocking up a lot, and he's going to have to put pressure up at the net to make defense easier for his partner, Sean Rosenthal.
Tops in blocks, tops in kill percentage. Phil Dalhausser, 27 years old, born in Switzerland, now living in Santa Barbara. Big jump serve.
And light.
And it's stuck by big Phil Dalhausser.
And this is exactly what Rosenthal does not want to happen. They want to keep Dalhausser out of the match by hitting shots like that. But Dalhausser gets so high that he rejects it anyway. That shot goes over just about any other blocker on this tour.
Todd Rogers, age 33, on an absolute roll right now. Finally won the AVP MVP award 1 season ago. And defensively, he is the man. He has been so good defensively for so many years. Jake Gibb with a swing and a finish. And Jake Gibb, 6'7", from Utah, comes from a huge family. 2 wins in his first 2 tournaments with new partners in 2005 and 2006. But he has not found that winner's circle, at least on the AVP, with Sean Rosenthal in well over a year.
They have talked a little about their frustration in not getting more wins out of all the finals they've made.
Lost 8 straight AVP finals. And the big block. Point is still alive, though. Can Dalhausser chase it down? Good effort, but he will not get there.
Probably going to take him 2 plays to recover after that.
No kidding. In this heat.
And so what Gibb does here, as we said, he lures Rogers into hitting that angle and then reaches at the last second to his right. Gibb with a nice finish there. A couple of years ago, he played on the left side with Adam Jewell when he got his first win, and that was in Dallas. And so he's a very good left side hitter, too, in transition. That serves him well.
Tied at 3. Close to the net. Rogers makes no mistake. We step aside during this men's final, which is off to a good start in the heat of the desert in Glendale, Arizona. The AVP Crocs Tour Sanderson Ford Glendale Open is being brought to you by Sanderson Ford, Arizona's largest Ford dealership. By Crocs, play hard, live comfortably. By McDonald's. And by refreshingly smooth Bud Light, always worth it. Welcome back to Glendale, Arizona. Sean Rosenthal and Jake Gibb playing in their 7th match of this tournament. Our Bud Light recap shows you exactly how they got here.
And the reason they've had to play more is that second one there. You see 13 and 11, they lost to Holdren and Nygaard. The first time all season they have lost without even being in the match. They're clearly their worst match of the season, but they have come back very strong. Great win against Lucena, and then a great one. Jake Gibb making a couple of phenomenal plays, down 24-23 in that second game against Lambert and Metzger. Another great win against a team that hooked up just for the weekend. Kevin Wong and Aaron Wachfogel will have a very nice tournament, and then crushing Holdren and Nygaard to get back to the final, beating them worse than they got beaten. Dalhausser and Rogers having a much easier time not having to play so many matches. Things went very smoothly on Friday, and boy, did they have an easy day yesterday. They came out here a lot, but they didn't play but till 9:30 at night. Played one match and won fairly easily, so have yet to lose a game in the 4 matches they've played. But 4 for Dalhausser Rogers, 7 for Rosenthal and Gibb. That could be a factor this weekend. It's clearly been the hottest tournament of the year.
Well, Olsen and Ring, clearly their hottest tournament in quite some time, as they finish in 3rd place, along with Dax Holdren and Jeff Nygaard. Here they are again. Finally, they reemerged themselves. Hyden and Keenan, remember, they had success making the Final Four last week in Huntington Beach. They were right around it. You talked about Aaron Wachfogel and Kevin Wong. Karch, you're playing with Kevin Wong this year, but you went easy on the body in the desert, so Wachfogel came in, did a nice job. Medell and Souza, Lambert and Metzger finishing 7th, and disappointing for Lambert and Metzger after winning the title in the last event on the tour.
And line.
Absolutely. You were talking about Lambert and Metzger being really up and down. The other side of that coin is Rosenthal and Gibb. Really proud of the fact that they have now made every one of the 4 finals on this tour. Amazing consistency. Even Dalhausser and Rogers have not done that. But the thing they really want now, Rosenthal and Gibb, is to get in the winner's circle.
Todd Rogers. Rosenthal in perfect position. And the point will go to Dalhausser and Rogers. Net violation call on Rosenthal.
And there's one of those hitting errors that falls into the error category that Gibb and Rosenthal talked about. Rosenthal had twice as many errors as the next guy last year. They're trying to cut those down and trying to make more good plays and not going for all the great plays.
I got it. Line over, quick!
Big play at the net by Jake Gibb. You made an interesting point when we were talking to the players before the match. You said that it's not often the team that scores the most great points. It's the team that gets the most good points that more often than not is victorious.
Absolutely. That's Coach Jim McLaughlin's philosophy up at University of Washington, winning an NCAA, only coach ever to win men's and women's NCAA championships. And he emphasizes to his players to make many, many good plays. Don't go for the great ones. Force the other team to go to the great ones. Go for the great ones because they'll make more errors doing so. Which has kind of been the story of Sean Rosenthal, although it's been improved this year. And that's the one thing, if you ask Sean about, he said, first of all, I need to stop making mistakes. But when I do, I needed to become better at overcoming them mentally. And it's still, I think, a work in progress. He would be the first to admit. But they've made a lot of progress, and he feels like he is able to cut down the streaks of errors and just cut it to 1 or 2 in a row at most. And that's the big thing, isn't it, Karch? Good dig by Rogers, ball still alive. Now here's Rosenthal. And there's a perfect example, taking the speed off, looking for the safer shot. And he actually hit 2 very safe shots in that play. The first one, he hit it hard, but he kept it away from Dalhausser's block. They made Rogers try to put the ball away. Second one, Rogers leaning one way, and of course Sean Rosenthal going the other, but 2 safe shots. Even they didn't win the rally on the first one, but they got the ball back. They showed patience, and that's what they've been working on. Tied at 6. And the finish by Todd Rogers. And boy, that shot is just so difficult and frustrating, both for a blocker like Gibb and for a digger like Rosenthal, because Rogers sees it so well. He'll feel that blocker to his left side and then just cuff it down the line. It's such a tough shot to stop, but a blocker has to shut it down if they want to have a hope of beating this great team.
5th straight year the tour has come to the great state of Arizona. A new stop here in Glendale for 2007. Rogers. And here's Rogers again. And he makes no mistake. 2 straight points for Rogers and Dalhausser. We step aside with the top seeds leading in game 1.
Welcome back to Glendale, Arizona. I'm Chris McGee. We got our men's final going on. Todd Rogers and Phil Dalhausser leading 8-6 over Sean Rosenthal and Jake Gibb. And welcome back to Glendale, Arizona, the AVP Crocs Tour, the men's final. You got Todd Rogers and Phil Dalhausser leading 8-6 over Jake Gibb and Sean Rosenthal. This right here, this is important. This is the Solar Safe Weather Conditions Report, and I am dying down here, ladies and gentlemen. The air temperature, just a mere 105. Take a look at the sand temperature. I don't know if it could go any higher. It's about 128 on the sand. Then you look at the UV index. It is very high at a 9, so please protect yourself from the sun. And you know what, Karch, Goldie and I were talking earlier. I want to know, what's the hottest event you've ever been at, and did you wear little pink booties on your feet to match your pink hat?
I would never be cut. Well, I'm stuck with the pink, but no, never pink booties. The hottest one we ever played on the AVP Tour was in Clearwater, Florida in the middle of June. It was so hot that there was a guy named Jay Hanseth with really thick black hair. He made an aluminum foil cap for himself to reflect the rays of the sun. I think he fried his brain a little trying to do so, but it was crazy hot there and humid. Luckily, we don't have that humidity here today, but yes, the sand is brutally hot. They are hosing it down between every break.
It is a scorching Mother's Day here in the land of the sun, the valley, the desert, Glendale, Arizona. And you don't have a little breeze like you had in Tempe, although the wind is coming up a little bit, but overall, we're in this beautiful Westgate City Center, but you are right in the middle of the sunshine.
Get an occasional bit of breeze, but the players aren't feeling it much because they are down sheltered in this stadium. There's an argument over whether that ball was in down the line or not. The referee or the sideline linesman called it in. They're looking at the mark.
Taking a good look at it. See who gets the call.
The ball mark is out.
Ball mark is out.
Captains. Todd.
Nobody wants to waste the energy to have to walk over.
No kidding. Just tell us if it's in or out.
Just call it out.
Don't make us walk all the way over here. You just told us it's 105 degrees.
Ball mark's out. Yeah, right. So we're going this way.
Hit it coming from this angle.
Right.
Angle,
He confirmed. Ball mark is out. Take a look at it, Karch.
Let's see if we can take a look. Got a nice angle here down the line. And what Rosie is saying is, even if that mark is out, the angle at which he hit it can catch the line. And even if the ball mark is out, the ball lands out. If it hits the line on the way out, that is good. And that's what Rosenthal is arguing.
So instead of 8-7, it is now 9-6. So a pivotal point here early in the matchup.
And that's Rosenthal's at least third hitting error out of 9 points. He's given up 33% of them. That he wants to cut that down for them to have a good chance to win.
And the big stuff by Phil Dalhausser.
Well, Dalhausser just covers so much court because he doesn't go not only just up high, but he reaches across. Look at that. His arms almost get parallel with the ground. Another great view there. And when he reaches that far across, there's just no space. It's like his hands are just inches from the ball. Very little room for Gibb to get that past him. Makes it a lot easier for Todd Rogers to play defense behind it.
Rogers and Dalhausser yet to make an error in this championship matchup. Rosenthal with a big swing and Dalhausser there again. That had a little anger in it.
Well, let's see if we can get yet another great view of how high Dalhausser is getting. Let's watch his arms here, how far his hands get over and across the net. That one, the ball hit so hard that it knocked his left hand back a little, but he is getting his armpits over the net. It's a pretty hard packed sand here because it's just laid down over a parking lot, and that's scary news for anybody hitting against Dalhausser.
So back-to-back blocks by the thin beast, and he's really going after that serve.
And I got yours.
On two. And he found the line.
Philip finds the line, 12-6.
So everything going right after the call went against Rosenthal and Gibb. Instead of it being a one-point game, now all of a sudden they trail by 6.
And you have to give him credit for those out hits too. His block's so intimidating that players hit out trying to avoid it.
Rogers and Dalhausser trying to run away with game number 1. They are on a 6-0 run. Welcome back to Glendale as we continue the men's final. Down to the Crocs Lounge where Chris McGee has Mike Dodden Ask Mike, if you would, Chris, about the stealth lunge he pulled on Jake Gibb and Sean Rosenthal with a little bit of stats in his pocket. Ask him about that.
All right, I will, Goldie. This is Mike Dodd, the Godfather. I call him 75 times the winner, the 1996 silver medalist. MD, Goldie wanted me to ask you about the stealth stats package you put together for Rosie and Gibb, your team.
The stealth stats package, I don't know about that. I'm just so comfy here in the Shays Lounge. All we're missing is some Hilton Hotel suite beds, and we'd be perfect right now.
Nothing like a nice plug. Now, you are the coach, but you're not in the box. When did that, tell us how that came about.
Well, young salmon need to learn how to swim on their own. And Jake and Sean, their number one goal is to qualify for the Olympics. In the F5EB rules, coaches can't be in the box. So I just thought it was best to try to prepare them as best I could for that. And so far, they're swimming very nicely. You know, they've had their troubles with Phil and Todd, but I love the direction that they're going. They're figuring out how to win when they're not playing well. And as soon as these guys start to click, some guys better watch out.
Let's take a look at the game, and we'll talk about it. It's 12-6, Phil and Todd. They've been going to Rosie all game. And Rosie right there, cross court. One thing Rosie mentioned was that he had to become more of a vocal leader now that you're not in the box. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's always a good thing when Sean becomes more assertive and more animated and kind of it helps him to relax, I think, on the court. And, he's doing so many little things better this summer than he did last summer. And I'm so proud of him. Sometimes it just leaves me speechless because he's really learning and figuring out how to become a man, how to play in big games, how to eliminate errors, and a lot of what he's doing is really good.
And a dig by Gibb. We'll see if he can put it away and make it 12-8, and he does. And MD likes it as he smiles. Now, MD, I got to ask you this. Goldie and Karch were talking about how tough it is for this team. They've been in so many AVP finals. They've lost, I think, 8 in a row. What do you say? You've been around the game a long time to keep these guys plugging away because, hats off to these guys. They keep getting back to the same spot. Yeah,
there's not really a lot to say. I don't focus on the negative. I try to focus on the positive. And, coaches like Carl McGowan, Marv Dunphy, they say if you can improve 1 or 2% every time you get out on the court, every time you practice, then pretty soon those percentages are going to add up in your favor, and that's what I keep telling Sean and Jake. Just pass a little better, get a little more consistency, with a little more consistency, block, do the things that you know how to do well, and, the confidence comes. It's all kind of a building process, and some teams takes longer than others, and for Sean and Jake, they started out like gangbusters at the beginning of last year, and then they really went through an inconsistent phase. It was very frustrating for all of us. And this year, it's like I said, it's a completely different team. We haven't had the success in the finals, but we're figuring it out.
Don, I'll tell you what, it's nice to be part of the dream team down here with you, buddy, in the Crocs Lounge. Let's go back to Goldie and Karch. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much. 75 career wins for none other than Mike Dodd, and his young salmon are swimming quite well on a 4-0 run after giving up 6 straight points. And we need to talk about that stealth lunch, though, Karchi. Basically what he did is at a lunch in January where Jake Gibb said he just thought it was just going to be a little conversation, he pulled out the stats and started to get into where things needed to be fixed, didn't he?
Especially pointing out the unforced errors from last year, and that's one thing they're figuring out how to cut down, and they stopped it at 12-6, stopped the bleeding. That's the sign of a good team, and now they're right back in this after being out of it.
Sometimes the tough things need to be said when you're the head coach, don't they?
And I think it hit him. Sean Rosenthal, wow, I had twice as many hitting errors as the next player on the tour. I really do have to cut down that number.
Did he get an error there? Nope. Just out wide. So he couldn't finish there. So it's 14-10 now. But right back in this game much more comfortably than down 12-6.
And that's what that block will do. You almost have to give Dalhausser the credit for those out hits as stuff blocks.
Trying with the left, and the big man was there again. Phil Dalhausser, such an intimidating presence at the net.
And what Dalhausser does here, he adjusts really well. This time, Rosenthal breaks out the left hand, but Dalhausser's still getting his hands way across the net. You have to think of your hands, it's almost like the ball is a flashlight, and the closer you can get your hands to that ball, the bigger shadow you project behind you on the other side of the on your side of the court, which makes less space left for your partner to dig.
See if he can get by the block this time. Rogers there with the dig. And Rogers with the hammer. back to a 6-point advantage.
What a game of momentum to 6-2 and right back to 6. Raji just feasting on an open net there. A little confusion on Rosenthal and Gibb's behalf. Got to have a blocker up with a hitter of the caliber of Todd Rogers. Even if it's off a dig, they expected the dig to be set worse. Dalhausser gave him a great set.
And the floaty sails wide, makes it 16-11. Do Gibb and Rosenthal have another run here in game 1?
Well, Rogers really mad at himself for letting them up for error, just getting 4 straight there, serving the ball out to let them off the hook when things were going so well for his team defensively.
4th straight AVP final, 6th overall for Rosenthal and Gibb. Dalhausser have won already twice this year on tour. And catching the line is Big Phil Dalhausser. They won the title in Miami, won the title in Dallas, and then lost in the semifinals in the last event in Huntington Beach to none other than Sean Rosenthal and Jake Gibb.
And that last hit by Dalhausser was scary. It's like it goes over the block, over the digger, and it's still in the corner. At that point, there's nothing that any great team can do when he hits it that high and that flat into the last 2 feet of the court.
And you talk about great teams. Dalhausser and Rogers, as teammates, 10-1 in their lifetime AVP finals. 10-1. Simply outstanding. 17-12 here in beautiful Glendale, Arizona. About half hour from the airport, Sky Harbor International, and it is a brand new city center, the Westgate City Center. You've got Jobbing.com Arena. You, of course, have the University of Phoenix Stadium. Then you've got the great restaurants. You've got the great establishments. The Fox Sports Grill is coming to Westgate. Steve Ellman and his crew have done a great job making this one of the premier homes for sports and entertainment. Glad to be here in Glendale. Yesterday, the Arizona Sting were in the NLL, the National Lacrosse League Finals. It was a big weekend here for volleyball. Some Sting, some American Idol appearances. With Jordan Sparks, a Phoenician still alive in the competition, so always busy.
And this is the shot we talked about, trying to take away from Todd Rogers. Jake Gibb able to lure Rogers into hitting that line shot this time. Watch how Gibb approaches. See, he takes a little hop, swings his arms a little more. That's something he's been working on to try to get a little more height on his block, is that little hop step there with some arm swing to give him a few extra inches above the net.
17-13. Give it the net. And the finish by Todd Rogers.
18-13.
Todd Rogers, Phil Dalhausser, or Stein Metzger and Mike Lambert have won each of the last 11 events on the AVP Crocs Tour. The last team other than those two teams to win was in Seaside Heights last year with Casey Jennings and Matt Furbringer,
who are not a team anymore.
Exactly.
Split up in the offseason, so those two teams really dominated.
Rosenthal and Gibb have been in a lot of finals, but they have yet to reign supreme since last year in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, Rogers was talking about it to us earlier about how stressed they were, that they lost in the semis and their $100,000 may have been lost to Gibb and Rosenthal. They couldn't even watch. They were running up and down the beach. Dalhausser was running away. He couldn't even listen.
Look at that hammer. That's 6'9" getting up and taking that ball down with authority.
And you could see it in their play. They're a lot more relaxed than they were in that semifinal last year, just up and cracking that ball down the line. The trouble with that shot is if Rosenthal commits all the way over to that sideline to stop it, he leaves 97% of the court open, and it's just too tough to take away all of Dalhausser's great shots.
So 19-14 now. Kept alive by Rogers. No, 19-15.
14-19.
Third seeded team of Rosenthal and Gibb against the top seeds of Dalhausser and Rogers.
And the amazing thing about Rogers is he doubled his win total from 12 before last year to 24 now in less than 24 months. What an incredible 06 he had.
Well, in 06 he won at one point 7 of 8 events. That streak was snapped in Sacramento. Then he was the god of the beach. Team was dominant all season long. They led the way last season with 8 wins, the first team with 8 wins in over a decade, and now they have themselves a game point here in game 1 to move halfway towards another title, which would be their 3rd in the first 4 events of the season here in 2007. Game point. And why not? With authority, Phil Dalhausser. Game 1 belongs to Dalhausser and Rogers, 21-15. Dominant at the net, and with the big block is the man they call the Thin Beast. Oh, so you want to be a beach volleyball player? Set for Game 2 of the men's final here at the Sanderson Ford Glendale Open, presented by Bud Light. Dalhausser Rogers win Game 1, 21-15. Dalhausser, Karshi, with 5 blocks in that game.
And besides those 5 blocks, Rosenthal and Gibb hit out 3 times. So that's a total of 8 plays that Dalhausser really controlled. The key is, if they had just cut that number down to 4 total hitting errors, they would have been right in that game, because they lost by 6 but gave up 8 points on that. So that's where they have to be thinking mentally, is let's cut in half our number of errors, and we're going to be right in with the winningest team over the last year and a couple of months on this AVP tour.
Mentally, you are just waiting for this team of Gibb and Rosenthal to do what Mike Dodd said, overcome and then go on a big run. But what they're running into is this ever-improving team of Rogers and Dalhausser, especially Phil Dalhausser, because you knew what you had with Todd Rogers. But Dalhausser, you've talked about it before, Karchi, could be the most dominant blocker of all time if he continues on this trend.
Well, people are talking about he is just changing the game like nobody has in probably, maybe ever, but in 20 or 30 years. It's kind of like Wilt Chamberlain in the NBA or LT in football. Teams have to completely change their game to adjust for what he does.
Good adjustment made that time by Sean Rosenthal. And while Gibb and Rosenthal have had the bad luck in some of the finals, more often than not, they've had the bad luck against these very players in Todd Rogers and Phil Dalhausser.
Yes, but I admire their fight. They keep getting back. They're not letting those losses get them down. They even said, hey, what's the worst that can happen? We lose, but we come back hard.
In fact, as Todd Rogers has a very authoritative finish there, you put a big smile on Jake Gibb's face when you said, hey, you're the only team so far that has made it to every final.
They're the most consistent team on the tour this year. That's a lot. That's something to be really proud of when you look at the depth of this tour and how Lambert and Metzger took a 17th in Texas and a 7th here.
Verbringer and Scott, a 25th earlier this year. new team, but guys who have both won on the AVP circuit.
One Final Four for that team, and this is trouble. You cannot set the ball too close against Dalhausser. All Jake Gibb is doing there is trying to keep the ball alive and knuckle it off the block and hope that his partner can get it up. It went to the wrong spot.
Pokey did not work that time, not with Big Phil at the net. And Dalhausser brings it on the service as well. Gibb able to go up and over the top off the hands and out of bounds.
And you talked about improvement. That's another thing that Dalhausser has improved. He's doubled his aces per game. Last year he was about a half an ace per game. This year he's over 1.1, and that's a new facet of the game that he's forcing his opponents to adjust to. It comes hard down the middle, his favorite serve, and people are scrambling to play it.
Leading the tour in aces per game is Phil Dalhausser, and as Karch pointed out, many more than he had one season ago, and had 9 in the tournament coming into this semifinal and final round. So he continues to serve the ball very well, and those are the points you want to get. You want to get some of those easy points by winning on your serve. Here's Gibb over the top and deep.
And credit Dalhausser's block again.
Gibb could not get a full swing on it. He tries to overcome the thin beast. Instead, the ball sails long, and they trail 5-2.
Another area that Phil Dalhausser has improved from last year is his blocking. He has 6 so far today. That's 2, 3, 4 coming up. It's just scary what he's doing. Plus the out hits. 6 in 2 games. He doubled his average in game 1 alone. That's what I talked about, having to take him out of the game, because when you let him dominate the net like this, you've got no hope of beating that team.
What has he done stylistically, systematically, to improve his blocking from 1 year ago?
Well, he talked about wanting to gain weight, but he's actually lost a little weight, and maybe that losing a couple pounds means he's getting up an inch or 2 higher, which is scary for all of us who face him on the other side of the net. But he's just so good at reaching across. You don't want to be high above the net. You want to be far over across the net, and you can see it in those great shots on the replays.
They serve Jake Gibb. And Gibb off the hands of Phil Dalhausser.
And the thing that Gibb and Rosenthal did so well last weekend to finally beat this team in the semifinals was to take Dalhausser out of it. They confused him. They hit soft shots. Then he started trying to time his jump differently, and then they would hit it hard before he got up and completely across the net. But they have not been doing that today. They've been letting him dominate, and that's big trouble.
Gibb serves Todd Rogers on 2. And they finished by Phil Dalhausser. Gibb got to the net, but couldn't get the hands in the right spot quickly enough.
Another reason you want to try to make Rogers do more of the work is his hitting percentage is actually down almost 50 points from last year, hitting .459. Only he was hitting over 500 last year, so that's another reason why you want to keep Rogers. Ooh, that's that tough middle serve that Dalhausser likes so much, just missing that one. Want to keep Rogers trying to do more of the work.
6-4 our score. Game 2, Game 1 belonging to Dalhausser and Rogers, 21-15. Dalhausser and Rogers in the Final Four 17 times in 19 AVP events. And as I mentioned earlier, 10-1 in finals. 10 wins as a team. Gibb and Rosenthal want to stop their momentum here.
Jake Gibb getting his second block here. Watch, he's going to take that little step, hop step, and reaches over to his left. So he was responsible that time for taking the angle. Rosenthal, his partner, was running behind him, taking the line. Good move, late move by Gibb, and it fooled Dalhausser into hitting that angle.
Here's the thin beast. And a poor pass set by Todd Rogers. And all of a sudden we're tied at 6.
Well, the way you can tell whether there's been an illegal contact is when the player who made the play does not even argue. And watch right here. Rogers just looks away, doesn't look at the referee, just strolls back to his spot. If he doesn't argue it, you know it was a good call.
If he does argue, it may still have been a good call, but at least he'll try to put on a little bit of an act, right?
But I could guarantee you it's a good call when he doesn't argue it.
7-6 Rogers, Dalhausser side out.
But Rogers comes back strong. That was an even tougher play to make. The ball was really close to the net. He kept his elbow away, made a perfect set, as he almost always does.
And a big swing by Jake Gibb. Gibb cross court for the finish, and we are all tied at 7. So the teams will switch sides here in the heat of the desert. And don't forget, the best damn sports show, period, is the greatest nightly sports show on television with your host, Chris Rose, John Sally, Rob Dibble, and Rodney Peete. The best damn sports show, period, weeknights at 11 p.m. only right here on FSN. Mike Goldberg, Karts Karai, Chris McGee, glad to be with you here on Championship Court. Bruce Sanderson Ford, 2007 Glendale Open, presented by Bud Light. And there's Jake Gibb at the net. So Gibb starting finally to emerge with a presence at the net here in Game 2.
He's figuring, well, one way to neutralize all those Dalhausser blocks is to rack some up of his own.
Gibb with 7 career wins, 6 of those on the AVP Tour. We've got the last 2 seasons MVPs on center court. Gibb in 2005, Rogers in 2006. And that big man right there could be a future AVP MVP, Phil Dalhausser.
Oh, could be, will be for sure. But note that Gibb, 2 plays ago, stuffs Dalhausser. They serve him right back, as they should. If you get a point off a player, go right back to him. The next ball is hit out. Credit Gibb's block that time. The intimidating block, and Dalhausser, in trying to avoid it, hits right out. So that's like an extra stuff block for Gibb there.
Here's Gibb again. And just missed.
And you talked about Dalhausser being a future MVP. It's interesting because Rogers even feels like the small man, the 6'2", the 6'3" player is slowly becoming extinct, both on the AVP Tour and in the Olympic qualifying process. And yet he is the reigning MVP. So we'll see how many years he can stay that way. But Dalhausser's certainly moving up into that upper echelon of the top 2 or 3 players on the tour.
3-time AVP Defensive Player of the Year, reigning last 3 seasons. Rogers is good as anybody, but at 6'2", as Kart said, the game has changed. Guys that are 6'9" are playing on the beach and playing very well, as is Phil Dalhausser.
Yeah, who knows, someday you see maybe Dalhausser and Gibb playing together.
Yep.
Although the big question mark in any big and big, as they call it, combination is, will they have enough defense to make plays? They'll certainly not give up a lot of points offensively.
Well, for Team Big, if you will, Sean Scott and Matt Furbringer, that hasn't worked out very well so far this season. 2 men who had more played in the front of the court than in the back of the court. One guy's got to play the D, right, Karchi?
That was exactly their thinking. Sean Scott wanted to transition and become a defensive player and let Furbringer do all the blocking, but sometimes they're switching it up because Sean Scott ends up being a better blocker, and they feel like they have a few too many moving parts right now. They're going to have to keep it a simpler game.
11-9, 2-point lead. Rogers tried to go on 2, was unable to do so. And so it is the point for Gibb Rosenthal. And they lead here in a must-win situation, 12-9. And down to the court with Chris McGee.
All right, thanks, guys. Jake Gibb, as Karch and Goldie talked about up there, the game has changed. You guys have started to serve Phil a little bit, and you're having some success.
You know, it's scary serving the monster, the thin beast, as you call him. He's a big kid, and he can go over me a lot of times, but we've been fortunate so far. So, you know, we'll keep testing the kid.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, you guys seem to really keep your patience even when you went down big in game 1, eventually lost it, and there in game 2, you guys look real patient.
You know, that's one thing we've been working on all year, is just being patient. It's a crazy game. You know, you give up a couple points, you want to tear your head off, but you got to stay patient.
Hey, buddy, you look good out here in the heat. Why don't you go cool off a little bit? We're going to break. We'll be back. Stick around. Jake Gibb and Sean Rosenthal lead 12-9.
Take a look at the 2007 Crocs Cup standings coming in. Take a look at the 2007 Crocs Cup standings coming into this weekend in the desert. Dalhausser and Rogers with just a slight lead on Gibb and Rosenthal based on that consistency that we talked about before. Lambert and Metzger getting their first win of the season last week in Huntington Beach. Glendale, Arizona, the 100th local to host an AVP event. We've been in Mesa, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, and Tucson, and now Glendale, Arizona. 5th straight year here in the Grand Canyon State, and a long hit by Rogers.
Really smart strategy by Gibb and Rosenthal. They weren't getting a lot of points off Todd Rogers, so they decided to do what some other teams have done in this tournament: serve Dalhausser short, make him do more of the work on offense, hoping to tire him out, and he won't get so high above the net on defense on his block.
Well, it's worked so far, Karch. They have their first sizable lead of the matchup, and it will increase. And Todd doesn't argue that one either.
He doesn't argue that one either. That's 2 on him, plus the blocks that Gibb has, and all of a sudden they got a huge lead.
Is that the heat and fatigue that comes with it?
It's certainly hard for a guy like Dalhausser to do all the work, but that was actually an easy pass. I think it's just so hot that there's a lot more sweat on Dalhausser's arms. One thing players have to do is try to clean their arms off, rub it on their trunks to try to help their partner out and keep it a dry ball.
There's a good one. And no mistake made by Big Phil Dalhausser. 14-10, working from a deficit for the first time here in our championship matchup, Rogers and Dalhausser.
And as you mentioned at the top of the show, 17-10 was the big one last year, a year ago in Arizona. So these next few points I see as really big for Gibb and Rosenthal. If they continue not to give up points, they'll be in great shape to win this and force a game 3.
That was the lead in game 1. After Gibb and Rosenthal had won in Fort Lauderdale, the first tournament of the year. A battle at the net between the two big men. Ball is still alive. Rogers And Rosenthal finds the line.
And you talked about their patience. Gibb hitting the ball over, not making a perfect cut shot. He hit a ball that he knew Rogers would probably get up, but they played the ball back. Patient. They made good plays, not great plays, and ended up winning the point. That kind of patience is how they're going to win this second game.
They ended up losing 28-26 in game one. Then got absolutely rocked in game two. Haven't won a final since. Had 8 game points that they couldn't take advantage of. And it has, mostly because, unfortunately, we've had to talk about it because they haven't gotten back over the hump. It's become the meltdown in Tempe. And one that they're still trying to recover from to a certain degree.
And it looked like they were going to win 2 in a row and just be the dominant team last year.
Good. Yeah. Rosenthal.
I don't know if you can hear it, but right after Rosenthal made that pass, he said, yeah, which means Gibb is going to set a lower set, push it out toward that referee a little. And then he gets monster jump. Let's listen to it in live time. He said, yeah. Kaboom.
Yep, that redefines with authority right there. Both teams trying to fire with efficiency here. 16-11, game two. Big Bill with the hammer.
And even though Dalhausser's going to get his kills, now he's having to jump more. It's over 100 degrees. The sand's over 130. They're trying to wear him down a little. He hasn't played as many matches as Gibb and Rosenthal, but the hope is to try to hurt his blocking technique by getting him just a little more tired than he would be.
Jake Gibb said this weekend has been harder than he actually expected, because he said in the heat of summer in Utah, where he grew up, he was accustomed to playing in this type of heat and a bit of a dry heat in Bountiful, Utah. But man, he said this one has been difficult. Rosenthal with a great athletic play. And the block by Jake Gibb.
Sean Rosenthal, what incredible athletic ability. This is so hard to adjust. He's leaning back, then he has to go forward. Gibb showing what speed he has. They make a good play, not a great play, but Gibb saves it. You could see him behind his back there, signaling 2 with his fingers. He took angle, blocked Dalhausser, and saved the point. And now they retain their 5-point lead.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I want a great round of applause for local sponsors that help.
10 kills, 8 digs today for Sean Rosenthal. Amongst the leader in aces on the tour with 32 coming into this championship matchup. I may have said in air that he was the leader earlier. 32 aces. Dalhausser with 43 coming into this final game. Nice adjustment by Rogers just to keep that ball alive. Perfectly placed for Rosenthal, and he makes no mistake.
And it started with a tough serve from Rosenthal to Dalhausser's left down the line. Got a bad pass and another scoring opportunity. And Dalhausser's looking a little tired, like he might want a timeout here.
And he'll take it. Well, exactly what you talked about, Karch. Try to work the big man and see if you can take a little bit out of the gas tank. And they have done it successfully in taking control here in game number 2. The irony of this destination being the place that potentially Gibb and Rosenthal could turn things around and go on that potential tear that Mike Dodd talked about makes any story very well written.
If they had to choose a place to lose game 1 and be losing in game 2 to their nemesis, the team that has dominated them over the last 14 months, it would be here in Arizona, the site of their meltdown last year, and they are showing their patience here with a 6-point lead. Really well played game 2 by them.
18-12 our score thus far here in game 2. Don't forget, Sports Ultimate Nightly Highlight Show is here. The FSN Final Score. Every great highlight, every unforgettable moment, every night on FSN. It's the only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. The FSN Final Score every night only on FSN. Check your local listings for the start time in your area. 105 degrees in the desert here, 130 off the sand. Conditions are scorching, as you would expect here on a Mother's Day weekend in Glendale, Arizona.
guarantee you there was twice as much Gatorade consumed as a typical weekend by players, staff, refs, and fans alike.
Broadcasters. Dalhausser takes over after the timeout and gets a much-needed point.
Smart play by Dalhausser to come back with a soft shot. But now again, Gibb and Rosenthal in command of this game. All they need to do is receive serve, put it away 3 times, and force a game 3.
Short service. We're going to work Rosenthal here. And Rosenthal with a hitting error.
So now the sign of maturity for Rosenthal is if he comes back and puts this ball away, avoids the Dalhausser block, avoids hitting out, and recovers from that one mistake and doesn't let it become a streak.
We talked about it before. They go with a short service on Rosenthal again. Another swing. And he gets a favorable roll off the net cord.
And he made a good but not great shot there. Got a little bit of a lucky bounce, but here they are, 19-14.
Well, the old Sean Rosenthal might have taken the full swing at the ball like before, and he would have had it hammered right back in his face. They serve Phil Dalhausser. And the block by Gibb. The strategy has worked. Working Phil Dalhausser has set up game point for Rosenthal and Gibb. Trying to force game 3. Off the hands of Jake Gibb. Game point number 2 coming up.
And the theory behind serving Dalhausser short is to try to give him less of a run up to the net, shorter run up, less speed coming in, slower, a shorter jump on the hit.
Moving up, then having the time to move back and come back up doesn't happen at this level very often, does it? So they can side out for game 2. 20-15. For the game. And they got it. Sean Rosenthal and Jake Gibb have forced game 3, winning 21-15. Will the month down be forgotten here again in the desert? We'll find out. events on the AVP Crocs Tour. And 16 of the last 17.
Gibb. And again, a good, not a great play, kind of bending but not breaking. Gibb makes a good shot. Rogers gets it up, but they're forcing Rogers to try to beat them, and Gibb making a great block here, hanging and swatting. And that is now Gibb's 6th block. He had only 1 in game 1, but turned it around 4 in game 2, and that's number 6. And so he's up to Dalhausser's total, amazingly enough, after a slow start.
And there's that short service to Phil Dalhausser again. This time he makes no mistake.
And he's certainly going to get his, but each one of those extra jumps, the hope is that he's going to struggle a little more, be a little more tired running up to the net now, because now that he has to do 2 more jumps when he's serving. He's going to jump once with the jump serve, sprint up to the net, and jump a 3rd time to block.
Good.
Rosenthal. Rogers was there, had the line. The battle at the net. And Rogers with the hammer. That's about the most emotion you'll see out of the professor as well.
Slavering over that empty net again. Great up by Rogers right here on the joust. What an amazing, he even has the perfect roll technique, and then kaboom, and Gibb and Rosenthal. Gibb, of course, should not have dropped off the net and left that wide open. That's old school beach volleyball. 30 years ago, they didn't block.
Wow.
Those were fun plays back then.
That was a great dig. And perhaps the best point earned so far in this matchup by Dalhausser and Rogers. Remember, this one only to 15. Winner takes the crown here in our 4th stop of the year on the AVP Crocs Tour. I'm back in the beautiful Westgate City Center in Glendale, Arizona. Home of the Arizona Cardinals, home of the Phoenix Coyotes, the Arizona Sting. Concerts and family events, the Fiesta Bowl, and of course college football's national championship between Ohio State and Florida, contested at the University of Phoenix Stadium the early part of '07. And this week, for the first time, home to the greatest beach volleyball players in the world in the AVP Crocs Tour. Dalhausser Rogers lead his 3rd and final game, 3-2. Dalhausser was caught a little break that time that the ball sailed over and Gibb couldn't handle it. Poor pass by Dalhausser. Todd Rogers, as always, though, Karch seems to keep the ball alive.
I'm actually amazed that Gibb lost that joust. It appeared that the ball was completely on his side of the net, but as soon as he contacted Gibb, Dalhausser rejected it.
Rosenthal against the big block. What a play by Rogers and Dalhausser. Great hustle by 6'9" Phil Dalhausser to run that ball down.
And it's really hard to know how far you can go. Watch this as Dalhausser goes over close to the banners. There's wood underneath there to support those mechanisms, so you've got to really watch your toes. And a good avoidance of the net there by Todd Rogers. Got the pinky hats back there.
Yes, indeed. Someone made those popular. Rosenthal with the hammer. They needed that one too, Karch. Down 5-2. They needed that point desperately. They get the side out. It's 5-3.
As you said, there's a pinky.
There they are. Which one are you?
Who would have enough nerve to wear
I have no idea. And thought about pink socks, according to Chris McGee.
Got to go with pink trunks someday, I guess.
There you go. Well, the pink hat actually caught on, brother.
I'm still waiting for pink to come back.
Right there. Cut. Go.
Dalhausser chased down by Sean Rosenthal. And the joust is won by Rosie. What a play.
And this is the kind of joust 2 plays ago I expected Gibb to win, but this time Rosenthal's the one who wins it. Watch, he powers that with his right hand, keeps pushing. You don't often win a joust against Phil Dalhausser. That's one of the best heckles I've ever heard, though, Karch. It was Karch. The 80s called. They want your pink hat back. So that was a good one. I'm waiting for the pink to come back.
It's coming, buddy. You just hold on.
Oh, nice hustle by Gibb.
They're crossing over now. At 6-4, they change on the 5s here in this third and final game. The cerebral approach to the slump, if you will. And I don't think there's any way to say it. It's a final slump that Rosenthal and Gibb are in. Do you like the cerebral approach they're trying to take?
I do, and they're recognizing that every other team on this tour, except Dalhausser and Rogers, would love to have that kind of a slope,
great
slump,
point. Yeah,
and be in every final like they're in. So it's only a matter of time. The only way you can win tournaments is put yourself in a position to win tournaments.
6-4, they trail to their arch nemesis.
Good.
Big serve to Rosenthal.
Angle.
Rosenthal through the block, kept alive. Gibb. And the point to Gibb and Rosenthal.
And you can see Gibb and Rosenthal are trying to keep Dalhausser off balance there. They ran a really fast set.
Yep.
Rosenthal only set it a couple of feet above the net, and Dalhausser was chasing it so much he fell right into the net.
6-5. So now they serve Rogers. And Rogers cuts and earns the point.
shot.
Would you like to see him continue to pressure Phil Dalhausser?
I think they were trying Todd once. They felt like the last few plays Dalhausser didn't give up any points. But if I were them, I would stick with the strategy that worked in game 2, and that is go at Dalhausser when they're serving.
Rogers with the short service.
Light.
He disguised that. Rosenthal acted like he was going to go up with the left. Just got a little bit of hesitation between the ears of Phil Dalhausser and then easily beat him with a nice little touch shot on the right side.
And those moves froze Rogers, so
Yes.
he never even made a move to that ball. You almost never see that.
7-6 here in our third and final game.
Right there. Line.
Phil Dalhausser. 8-6.
But it was a well-executed idea. Gibb going with the short serve to Dalhausser, who didn't make the greatest pass, but Rogers setting it, making just an unbelievable set so Dalhausser could hit that critical angle.
The last 4 years, we've had 4 different men's champions here in the desert. Will we have a new champion this year in Rosenthal and Gibb? Or will Rogers and Dalhausser win again for the 3rd time this year? Chris McGee with Todd Rogers.
Here I am with Todd Rogers. T-Raj, hey, you're not seeing many balls. They finally gave you a bone. You're not used to that. Phil's getting all the serves.
I'm freaking out right now. I don't know what the hell's going on. How can they serve that my animal over there? Hey, you know what? Jake is blocking really, really well. He's gotten me 2 or 3 times, at least. And he's gotten Phil, I don't even know. I don't want to know how many times. But we're still in this game, so.
Hey, buddy, you showed a lot of passion on that great up and then the hammer. Felt good.
Nothing like a crowd pleaser, eh?
Nothing like a crowd pleaser. Todd Rogers and Phil Dalhausser in a battle, leading 8-7 here in the 3rd game. Thanks, Raji. Good luck. We'll be back in just a moment.
far this season. First we go to 3 games, and now in the third it's 8-7.
And it was funny watching the semifinals. Sean Rosenthal's girlfriend Jill Dorsey, he got her a trio so she could text a little easier to Jake Gibbs' wife Jane to give her the scores. In game 1 I think she sent out 8 updates, so she's madly texting here as we're late into game 3 now.
Well, she was very angry when she was texting in game 1, much happier with the text messages received as well by Mrs. Gibb in game number 2. Dalhausser. And a 2-point advantage for Rogers and Dalhausser. 9-7. What an incredible mark, Karchi. I've talked about it a couple of times, but 10-1 in AVP finals as a team.
That's up there with May and Walsh standards.
Yep.
Maybe even better for those 11 events, but amazing productivity when they're in the final. But even more amazing, I wouldn't have called it going into this year, that the most consistent team out of the first 4 events would not be Todd Rogers and Phil Dalhausser, but would be the team on the other side of the net, Rosenthal and Gibb.
And the reason that is because Rosenthal and Gibb beat them 1 week ago in Huntington Beach and forced them into a 3rd place finish. Deuces are definitely wild, but they're tired of deuces. They want to be number 1 here today, but they still trail by a deuce, 10-8.
And you can see Dalhausser's respecting Gibbs' block more, trying to take his block out of the game now by hitting softer shots. His last 2 plays were unblockable.
You know, Karchi, we talked so much about the maturation process of Sean Rosenthal being a young stud on the tour. It's no different for Phil Dalhausser. He's still a young buck trying to get mentally able to play his best volleyball, and that's some of it right there. Ball still alive, though. Rogers with the left, and the finish.
Rogers breaking out the left-handed cut shot there. Just trying to respond to Rosenthal's. Rosenthal and Gibb doing an amazing job just keeping that alive, but Dalhausser was really hungry to get that point.
Phil Dalhausser has to learn the same way as Sean Rosenthal. Good points are better than great points.
And he's got a great coach, and it happens to be his teammate. They don't have a coach. It's just the 2 of them.
Big service. Serving Gibb. And he won the battle.
See, that's 3 plays this game where Rosenthal and Gibb have set the ball too close and lost as a result. Gibb netting that time, trying to save that. They have to pull the ball back a couple of feet at least, even 3 feet away from that monster at the net, Phil Dalhausser. Too close. Gibb is pushing, and right there with the palm of his hand, the meaty part of his hand, he netted.
So the call is correct, and the call goes against Rosenthal and Gibb, and now they are in a bad spot, trailing 12-8 here in the 3rd and final game. Gotta have this one. And they don't get it. 13-8.
And instead of setting 3 feet off the net, it went 10 feet off the net. Gibb couldn't save it.
Timeout, Rosenthal, Gibb. This one has gotten away from him. It was 8-7, Karchi. Now it's 13-8.
They put themselves in a great position, the best this year, to win. That doesn't mean they can't come back, but Dalhausser's been playing really smart.
5 of the last 6 points going to Rogers and Dalhausser. Don't forget, Sports Ultimate Nightly Highlight Show is here. The FSN Final Score. Every great highlight, every unforgettable moment, every night on FSN. It's the only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. The FSN Final Score. Every night. Only on FSN. Check your local listings for the start time in your area. 21-15. 21-15. The 2 teams split games 1 and game 2. This is the 3rd and final game in our men's final on Mother's Day here in Glendale, Arizona. Rogers and Dalhausser felt the pressure of the Gold Crown Series and a potential check for $100,000 last week. They were upset, if you will, in the semifinals, although it's a mild upset when it's Gibb and Rosenthal. But then Gibb and Rosenthal couldn't finish the deal against Lambert and Metzger. And the bonus went to the Thin Beast and the Professor. Confusion on the service receive. And he's going to set up Todd Rogers for an easy point.
Ladies and gentlemen, on your feet, it is game match.
6 of the last 7 points
For Bill and Todd.
have gone to Dalhausser and Rogers, and that brings up game, match, championship point. Not quite yet. 14-9. Going to take a miracle comeback here. Dalhausser and Rogers looking for their 3rd win here in event number 4 of the season. Game, match, championship point. And it is all over. Phil Dalhausser and Todd Rogers win for the 2nd year in a row in Arizona. The streak continues for Dalhausser and Rogers. They reign supreme, beating Gibb and Rosenthal.
All right, thanks, guys. T-Raj, what a day for you guys. It has been so scorching hot out here. How did you get through it?
First things first, happy Mother's Day to my wife, Melissa, and my mom, Heidi, and all the mothers out there. Yeah, you're right. It was so hot out this weekend, and I think a lot more big guys got served because of that, as evidenced in the finals when these guys were going at Phil. Even in the semifinals, guys were going at Phil, and guys don't usually touch Phil because he's unloading. But he had to jump serve, run to the net, and the credit to him, he just plugged through it. And in the third game when it counted, he was there.
And Phil, I'm going to go to you now. The unthinkable happened today. You got served a lot of balls. Were you waiting for this day?
Yeah, to be honest with you, no, I haven't been waiting, but I really had trouble with getting served every time because it's the heat out here is so intense. And like Todd said, running up the block and getting served, and it was tough, but dealt with it, and we ended up with a W.
Yes, you did, and they now have 3 on the 2007 AVP Crocs Tour. Phil Dalhausser, Todd Rogers, congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you, Geeter.
Dalhausser with 20 kills and 7 blocks. Rogers 13 kills and 15 digs. This concludes our coverage of the men's final of the AVP Crocs Tour Glendale Open, where once again Todd Rogers and Phil Dalhausser defeat Jake Gibb and Sean Rosenthal 2-1 and thus win the crown here in the desert. Now stay tuned because coming up next, coverage of the women's final of the AVP Crocs Tour right here on FSN.